Have a bunch of maybe some fish stories. I usually start out a lecture or something with some type of a fish story because the reason I do it is because people ask me to do this. I have a lot of people asking me to write a book on just the experiences that I've had for the last 40 years out in the fishing field. But I haven't decided to do that yet. But I do want to say a little fish story. This happened a couple of years ago. I was down in Arkansas, and I went to this lake, and I saw a bunch of cars, and I saw this having one of those southern bass tournaments on this lake. So I waited till everybody left, and you should have heard that. It sounded like a bunch of bummers taking off. But the upper end of this particular lake had a tree just as far as you could see. So after they disappeared, I rented a little John boat, and I just went out just a little ways, and I found a school of bass, but they were only just what I call tournament bass, about this long. So I just threw a little cork about that big and marked it with a string on it where the school was. So I went on down just within sight of the dock down toward the dam. And here I hit another school of bass at about 21 feet with a long troll, and then I went to the cast. I was anchored, and what I was doing, I'd make the cast into the channel. The fish were located right there at the break line into the channel. And I'd drop my lure below there and come bumping up across there, and just to come through, run and take it. I did 41 consecutive casts without missing. Now, what I was doing, I was throwing them back over my shoulder. Every time I catch a fish, I just throw it. And pretty soon I saw a bass boat slipping up on me. And they stood off, and I just caught one. I threw it out, and I said, "Hello, fella, come on over here." And they were very reluctant. It took about 5 minutes to get over there. And I kept saying, "Come on, come on, come on. They're right down here." And they finally came into right far from near the wall. And I said, "Now they're right out there. I'll make a cast." So I made a cast and showed them how to do it. One of them had a spinnerbait, and the other one had a plastic worm. So they moved in there, and after several casts, they cast it out there and drop it down, and then you do. And they made several casts. And I said, they may have dropped off. Just hold up a minute. Let me see if they're there. I made the cast, sunk it down, come in. I said, "Yeah, they're still there." threw the bass overboard. And they kept casting. Pretty soon I said, "I can't understand it because they're right there where you guys are casting 21 feet. I said, "Wait, let me see." Yeah, they're still there. They're still there. I did that 5 times. And finally I said, "Try this." And I threw a spoon plug across their boat, and one of the guys took it off, and I said, "Now make the cast." And so he made the cast, and about the 3rd time he got it out to where it was, and he let it sink down, and he said, I said, "Now wait just a minute." I said, "Now watch what I do." And I made the cast, I sunk the lure, and I sunk my line, and I put my rod tip low, and I started cranking about as fast as I cranked, and I said, "Yeah, they're still there." I have another one. And after about the 5th cast, I got him with his rod tip down, but I said, "Crank." I said, "You got to plow to it." When you're trying in a school of fish, you got to get faster and faster and faster with that retrieve. And finally he caught one. And he made 5 casts, believe it, and caught 5. And his partner won't take the lure away from him. And I said, "Well, boys, I got to go throw my lure." So he threw the lure over, and I took it off, and I said, "Boys, good luck. They're still there. And when I got back to the dock, my car was out. I went off and listened, and all these guys come in. And one of these guys, I heard him talking. He says, "It's the damnedest thing I ever saw." But I never did hear from him. Spoon plugs didn't. So that's a pretty good story of the life of this thing. I'm going to talk about tools just a little bit, but I want to get one thing straight right now. I tell the spoon pluggers, and I keep telling them, this is the club we have scattered over the United States. We have a lot of spoon pluggers in different clubs like this one, scattered over the United States. We have about 30 or 40 just pure spoon pluggers, is what we call pure spoon pluggers. But I tell these guys, if you don't want my tackle and my spoon plugging items that I manufacture, that's okay by me. If you don't buy them or you don't want them, hell, I don't have to make them. And that's the way I feel about it. So I'm not here to sell goods. I'm here to, if I can, to talk to a lot of you folks probably have never heard what this is all about. But I passed out some material. Now I don't want you to read that right now. I want you to take it home because I have a lot of food for thought in there. And in my lecture tonight, I hope I get through it, I have about 3 parts that I'm going to talk about. One is food for thought. In other words, I'm going to talk about some things that I want you to be thinking about. The next one is, I hear fishermen say my problem is when I get to a lake I've never fished before. Then I hear another fisherman say, I only fished a couple lakes because I know the spot where I've caught a fish. Then I have another group, and this happens all the time. When I go to a strange lake, and I look out over all that big water, it scares the pants off of me. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is fishing. Successful fishing isn't all that difficult. I'm going to bring it down to what I call the real basics of how to consistently catch fish whenever or wherever you might go fishing. And on the material that you have, we're going to refer to this just a little bit, and I want to refer to that first thing, that first page. You'll see some terms there. About 40 years ago, some of you know, and a lot of you probably know, I coined a few terms. One was spoon plugging, spoon plugger, and spoon plug or spoon plugging equipment. A lot of people don't know what those terms really mean. Spoon plugging could be said to be this. In order for you and I to consistently catch fish, wherever we go fishing, more and bigger fish, we must know what makes the fish tick, how you live, and we got to know what you and I must do to put him in the boat. That's one definition. Now another definition could be this. If you and I want to catch more and bigger fish, wherever we go fishing and whenever we go fishing, we must spend our time where we have the best chance. Give some thought about that. There's another definition. If you and I want to consistently catch fish, whenever and wherever we go fishing, we must be at the right place, at the right time, fishing in the right manner. Think about that. Now, those are definitions of what spoon plugging is all about. The word spoon plugger are fishermen who have learned that know, he must spend his time where he has the best chance to catch fish. Now, look, go to the first page of that thing is Spoon Plugger's Basic Guideline. It could be anybody's guideline, structured fisherman, or as far as I'm concerned, it could be Walleyes Unlimited. In this, we have certain things. 40 years ago, I put down on a sheet of paper what spoon plugging was all about, what successful fishing was all about. It took about 10 years before I saw a fella that looked like, and he seemed to prove to me that he had got what I said in that first little sheet of paper. Now that was Don Nichols of LaGrange Park, Illinois. Now the basic guideline that you're looking at right there is just about what I put on that little slip of paper 40-some years ago. Let's look at it just a little bit. The first thing that any fisherman should do is this. He must accept the fact that deep water is the home of the fish. It's the only sanctuary that a fish has from quite often hostile environment. You can't run up in the woods and hide behind a tree. The deep water is a sanctuary at where he will spend the greater part of his time. Let me put it this way. We have to accept this or we just forget it. Because if we don't, the rest of this thing and catching fish won't make a bit of sense. Now, normally when these fish are in the sanctuary depths, they may be so deep or so dormant, they're almost impossible to catch. Now, keep in mind as I quote this and I talk about this, this is what I found out about the fish. And I've been preaching this for 40-some years. Thank goodness I was able to make a living some other way. That's a good thing to laugh about. But in this, when the fish are in the sanctuary depths, now you say, what are the sanctuary depths? If the fish have available 20 feet or deeper, he will always take it. If you ask me what an average sanctuary depth, I would say, if available, 30 to 35 feet. Now, right now, in some clear lakes and some extra deep lake, it may be 40 feet. Maybe the average, say, muskie or northern or great big bass, it may be 30 to 35 feet, but these great big ones may be 40 feet. Right now, down at Chickamauga, which is a wide floodplain type reservoir, the spoon pluggers are really knocking the fish to half for weeks and weeks now. It's nothing like the catch of the little club that catch 400 or 500 bass once or twice, fishing a couple of times a week. Now, where are those bass coming from? They're big fish, 42 feet. The deepest I ever had to go to find a bass was 125 feet. Now you say that's not possible. You say, how to find him? Well, the thing about it is, I was fishing Lake Mead pretty close to the dam. And the fish had moved up to 30 feet. And I popped them. Now I knew the structure that they was on. So the next day I went, they weren't at that. But these ridges go down about 300 feet. So I just went right on down the ridge, just going, because here's my philosophy. When I check a bunch of water, and when I check a depth of water, and I don't catch him, he ain't there. Now I've had a rider sitting in the boat, and I'm sitting out in the way out, casting into the center of the lake. toward the center of the lake. And he says, well, why aren't you fishing back there? And he pointed back toward the weed line, back in the shallow. I said, there's no fish back there. He said, how do you know there's no fish back there? I said, I just fished it. And he said, well, why are you sitting out here casting out in the center of the lake? And I said, well, the fish is down deeper than where I'm casting. And there's mucky all out in there, and I can't work out there. And besides, I'd be lost wandering around out here. Here is a structure situation that the fish will move on. And he says, you mean tell me there's 10 miles of lake up this way and 5 miles of lake down there, and when they come, they're going to come up there? I said, yeah. He said, I don't believe it. I said, okay, you want to sit? I said, and every once in a while, I'd make a cast, walk it, no fish. 2 hours and 14 minutes later, I made the cast, bingo, I was on them. Came right on up, caught my lint, went back out. I don't know whether he ever got over it or not. But what I'm saying is, leading up to is this. The deep water is the home of the fish. When in the sanctuary depths, he may be so deep or so dormant that you and I just can't hardly find him. We are saved due to the fact that once or twice a day on an average fishing day, these fish will become active and may move toward the shallows. We are saved again because when these fish become active and move toward the shallow, they just don't go in any direction. They go what I call migration routes. He uses features of the lake bottom as signposts as he moves the activity period. Now, I call this route and features of the bottom that he uses structure, breaks, and break lines. Structure is a form, feature of the bottom. Not a tree, not a bush, not a weed bed, not a rock pile. It's a feature of the bottom that is different from the rest of the area. In my work for 50 years, I have found over the whole world, every state, Canada, Mexico, and even some in Europe, there's about 17 of these features that the fish will use in their movements and migrations. Some lakes may have but one. Some may have 2. Some reservoirs may have 10. In my work and in my study and in my writings, I use the reservoir more than the lake, a natural lake. The natural lake features that the fish use the features that they use in natural lakes is pretty well cut and dried. But in reservoirs, it's not. There's so many changes and different features and watercolors and things of this nature in reservoirs, so they're great features. Reservoirs sometimes scare the people who have always fished in natural lakes because of the difference. But I keep telling fellows, try them, go, don't get scared, because I haven't found a body of water different as far as catching the fish anywhere in the world. Now, I use the bass as the basic fish because he's universal, but he responds to weather and water conditions so bad, it's very severe, much more so than the walleye on the northern. I use him a lot as a guide because I say this: if you learn how to consistently catch a bass, it's just too bad if the other species get in the way. I fished for stripers out in San Francisco Bay. And they said, that people would say, well, how did you catching these trappers where they're not supposed to be caught and it's wrong time of day? I said, well, I went bass fishing. I did a film one time on spearing swordfish way out in the Pacific. And they said, well, how did you find these swordfish? I said, I went bass fishing. So that's the reason you hear a lot of them talk about a bass, because if we learn about him, it's just too bad if the others get in the way. So in this thing is this, we're saved because this fish doesn't go any direction. Structure, breaks, and break line. Breaks are the features on the structure, such as a pile of rock, such as a wheat bed, such as some stumps, just about anything. The break lines are this, and this is the reason I bring this up, because a lot of places that you might fish, you're going to have a different type of break line. But there's about 2 or 3 that is important. A break line is a place on the bottom where there's a more rapid increase in depth or decrease in depth. Now, please note that I said decrease in depth also. It's what I call the bottom break line. This comes a tall weed line or a tall break line into a channel. This is the top break line where it breaks into the channel, goes down in channel and then here. That is a break line. Bottom break line. Weed line. You may have some kind of weed line, tall weed line here. This is a base break line. You can have something in Florida, for instance. The best break line down there is the difference in the bottom. It may be muck versus sand. And most of the lakes will have them all the way around the lake. Your depth sounder won't hardly show it. But they're there. The spoon pluggers in Florida have to learn how to read them. And if you ever get down that way and you get to know the spoon plugger, they'll show you how to catch so many 10-pound bass. But anyway, be sure that you identify the features on the bottom. The structure is a piece on the bottom. That's the bottom of the lake. Different from around the area. There's only about 17. Most of them are just bars. The next one is breaks, which things sit on there. Breaks and break lines are things that they follow. In other words, that's a more sudden increase in depth. And there's quite a few of those around. Now, in this movement, when these fish begin to move, they're controlled how far they go, how long they stay before turning around going back by the weather and water conditions at that particular time. Weather and water. The weather is going to control the movements and activities of the fish. And the color of the water conditions is going to have a great part to play in that. In my thing, way back then, I said, now, where do I start? So, in my study, I came to this, that the cold front, we start at that point and move from the cold front forward, and the cold front would be the worst time. In other words, when this cold front came, the fish dropped maybe deep as it could go, and became very, very dormant. It may be 3 or 4 days before these fish become active enough that you and I may be able to find them. You could say this. Good fishing comes on very slow as far as weather is concerned. We start at the cold front, and then we move forward. And we keep moving forward until we come to the next cold front. The cold front, or the bad fishing situation, may occur on the way to the lake. That's something to think about. This good fishing comes on slow. The bad comes on very fast. So, weather and water. Now we come to the water. In pay too much attention about temperature. In fact, I don't ever think about temperature, oxygen content, pH, any of those things, because they don't really mean anything. Because we're going to take care of those in just a few minutes, regardless what they are. We're going to take care of them. I mean, it's in the basic guideline, and we're going to get to it in just a minute. I was down in Mississippi this, it was cold in December, last December. I was making some film, some tapes on high water and low water conditions. I filmed with the low water structure situations. Then when the lake filled 6 months later, I'd go back, put the camera there, and shoot the same scene. Some of you spoon pluggers have seen some of those at the lectures. And it's really something, because what I was trying to do is for you to look at the terrain and be able to determine what's downstairs. Now, I got a little that stuff right in this material that you have. So I was down there, and when it was cold, in fact, heavy frost, it started snowing. Believe it or not, in Mississippi. Went over to shoot some scenes of the low water stuff, and I looked at the watercolor. I looked at the weather. I saw some high vapor trails. I saw some high cirrus. Oh, it was a little snow. It was right after snow. It had been giving me snow. And then I looked at the watercolor, and I said, told the boys with me, Jack Weber, I said, I gotta fish it. So, but Jerry will tell you, we filmed it. I put on a 700 or 800 white lure, and we photographed it as it went down. And they said it's disappeared. I looked at it, it disappeared that deep. We started with 500, that little bitty lure, and the next one, which is runs down to 4 feet, and it was unbelievable. I believe we could caught 100 each, and they're running from 4 to 6 pounds. Think about that. Now, 2 days later, I went over to a clear lake because I wanted to get this one. This was a real clear lake, and we did the same thing. And the Lord just kept going on down. Now, it looked like it's about 15, 16 feet, and just kept going on down. Finally, the cameraman said, it's gone, I can't see it. And we measured it, and it was about 16 feet. I went to 32 feet with wire and caught a bass this long. Now, the most important observation that you and I can make is watercolor. And don't let anybody kid you. And some of you have seen my charts on watercolor. I classify them. I put them in certain categories. And I don't have time tonight to go over too much on that stuff, but it's in the little booklets and things of this nature. I'm going to tell another little story. Food for thought. When President Eisenhower was president, he had what was called a People's People Committee. This was international cooperation between people of different nations. And part of this program was to house a get-together of people on a fishing outing. You can call it a tournament if you want to. And the meeting was set up down in Miami. And to make a long story short, it came up like this. They said, Buck, how are we going to keep the spoon pluggers from winning all the tournaments? And I said, you can't. No way. He said, yeah, but we have to. We can't do that. And I thought about it, and a long time, and then I kicked back and forth, and I kept saying, there's no way. And finally, I'll use an I here, I usually don't admit this. I usually say spoon plugger. But before you guys, I'll say it. So I said, okay, guys, don't allow any trolling. I said, they'll win it anyway. They'll go out and do the trolling and do the interpretation, and when the casting comes, they'll be sitting on the best spot in the lake. Now, today, people may give credit for this no trolling ban in tournaments to some of these promoters. So here was the guy, the only guy I know of in the United States that taught perfect trolling, how to troll. It's more difficult to do good trolling than it is to cast. You can learn to cast in your backyard, but you can't do that in trolling. Every trolling pass is telling you something. It's the teacher on the water. We're going to get that just in a little bit. So here, if you hear about this no trolling, about it unsportsmanlike conduct and all that stuff, it's pure sour grapes. They couldn't troll with the gear they got anyway. They'd drag those lures through the water. That's all they could do. So anytime you hear some guy says that it's not trolling, it's not fair or something of this nature, it's unsportsmanlike, well, just don't pay any attention to them, because trolling is your and my teacher on the water. Get back to our basic guideline. How far these fish move toward the shallows is controlled by the weather and water conditions before returning back to deep water. I'm going to move along pretty fast, and we're going to move to the last paragraph on that page. I'm going to read it. If you and I desire to consistently catch fish whenever or wherever we go fishing, we must control the depth and speed of our lures or bait on and or around the bottom beaches, structure break line, the fish are using in their movements and migration. That's all it is to it, right there. That's the whole ball of wax. You don't care about the temperature. You don't worry about the oxygen. You don't care about the pH. You don't care whether the fish has got a belly ache or he feels good or bad. You don't care about the weather or anything. This will take care of it. You don't worry about it. All your concern must be concerned with is control the depth of feed. Now, depth control. We teach depth control. The books teach depth control. I just talked about it up here. Is where the fish are. What, why, depth, when depth, where depth, how depth, the whole ball of wax. And I just told you where the fish are going to be. They're not going to be anywhere else. They either in the shallows, in the deep, or somewhere between. And that's what we're going to fish. And most of the time, you're going to locate it in between. The fish can be active downstairs and not move. You can get them. Here's my guideline. I don't care how deep he is. I don't care how dormant he is, how he feels. Doesn't make any difference to me. Here's what would be my tip. He's so dark, if I get my lure 0 speed, right there, you suck it in. You can't hardly do that every time. But I control my depth and speed. Let me give you another little story right here. If I talk about why the spoon plug looks the way it is, maybe you'll understand in just a minute. But remember, use it makes no difference to me. If you do use it, then I'll have to make it. And I was about 4 or 5 years old. My daddy had a cabin up in the mountains, and there's a lake up there, Virgin Lake, full of fish. But I was a little fella, about 4 or 5 years old, and I'd run down to, we had about 3 or 4 wooden boats just pulled up untied on the bank, and I'd get in the back of these boats and I'd fish for bluegills, sunfish. And I'd get down there, and sometimes I'd get some, sometimes I couldn't. And I remember as if it's just yesterday. That's a long time ago. I fished it all around out there, and I didn't, no good. I looked down in the water, it was clear, and I didn't see a fish. So I started to lay my pole down, and I started jumping from boat to boat to boat, and every time I jump a boat, I'd rock the boat, just rock the boat all over the place. And then I'd jump over in the other boat, and I was jumping down, just happened to glance down the water, and there were bluegills and sunfish all the way around the boat, sitting there looking at me. I saw the biggest one. I put my worm right in front of him. He took it, and after that, Dad never did understand why I always caught the biggest bluegills. I'm going to go a little bit farther. If I get too long-winded, God, let me know. Pardon my notes, but these are some things I just got jotted down from Missouri. From Muskegon. When I was a little bit older, I'd ride my old beat-up bicycle to the lake. And I'd have me a cane pole, and I'd have my bait, and I was fishing on the bottom for anything you'd bite, mostly catfish and carp, things like that. And when I got my position in Chicago, I'd pile me up a pile of rocks, throwing sized rocks. And if I didn't soon get a bite, I'd throw a few rocks out there. If I didn't get a bite, I'd throw more rocks out there. And it wasn't long before the cork was down. And then I would catch my fish. If they quit biting, I'd throw more rocks. Think about it. We had a lake in North Carolina that had white perch in it. There's only one lake that I know of. It's a natural lake. Had white perch. And my daddy would take me down there. I was still a pretty small chap. And I paddled the boat, and this particular lake, there was no particular place to catch the white perch. The lake wasn't very deep, and you just wandered all over the open water trying to find some white perch. And I was paddling the boat, and so I just started, after a while, wasn't catching it, I just put my hand down there and started slapping the side of the boat underneath the water. And my daddy says, cut out that noise. And we fished a little bit longer, just kept going along. I stick my hand down on the water a little deeper and just started flopping the boat, slapping the water. He told me to quit the noise. Don't cut out that racket, but I just kept beating the boat. Pretty soon, we started catching them. And if it quit biting, I'd get slapped the boat some more. And my daddy, after a long time, he said, keep slapping the boat. I remember that very much. Now, we had when I was a teenager, I used to bump trips with trucks to Florida after school on weekends, and I'd make me a few bucks this way. And when I got my license, I'd drive the truck down there, get a load of oranges, and be back for Monday morning school. But sometimes I'd have a chance to go fishing. And it was in one particular lake. It had a lot of lily pads and had some floating islands, some trees growing on. And these floating islands, huge things, had settled in there. Now, the way that they do, they'd put a great big shiner on, and then go out there and flip it up next to this floating island. It was hollow back on there. So I went out there, and I went all around this thing and beat myself to death trying to catch one like that. So the next day, I took 2 poles along. One of them had my line and my cork and my hook for my shiner. The other one was just plain, clean pole, and it's pretty long. And when I wrapped a great big ball of friction tape on the end. So I set my shiner up against it, right up next to the floating island, and sit there a while. And I took the other cane pole, I started beating the water, bang, just beating the water. And if I didn't get bite, and I just start whamming the water, just really whamming the water right up there next to where my cork was. Pretty soon, boom, she went down. I had to do a hell of a lot of beating with that cane pole, but you should have seen the string of fish I caught. Now I hope you're going to get some of the what I'm leading up to. I was fishing a smallmouth bass lake not too far from here, and I got hung up. And I went back, my lure was hung under a rock. It's about 6 or 7 feet deep. I remember it was 250, and it hung on the rock. So I got the motor right back to it, and the motor, I threw it in neutral, and it was sitting there, blah, 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 blah. And I was trying to get it out, it was right down there, and I jerked it loose, and a smallmouth took it out of my hand. Terry Valley and I, some of you know Terry, were fishing. We were fishing a lake down in Indiana, and we were starting out trolling the riprap on a causeway. We hadn't gone very far before both of us had a fish in the boat. Then pretty soon, Terry became complaining. He said, "You're catching all the fish, and you're getting the fish before I get my line out." And I said, "Well, Terry, you're not keeping your eyeballs open." And he finally caught on. I was letting out about 20 feet of line in the ball of the motor, right beside the ball of the motor, about 20 feet, and he was letting out 100 feet. Before he got back 100 feet, I had my fish. Down in Florida, all the big fish, let me put it this way. Well, friend Tom Coleman, some of you heard Tom Coleman. Tom likes to fish 3 or 4 rods. One, he runs way back here on 250 and on 100, and then on right behind the boat, just short line, right beside the ball motor, about 20 feet back, he runs a big lure. All his big fish. I asked him, I said, "Which is your favorite?" He says, "Short line." He says, "All my big fish come from it." Now, the spoon plovers go down there about twice a year, like a little congregate, a little jamboree. All the big fish, above 8 pounds, and a lot of small ones too, come on the short line. We just came back from Mesquite, and I had a spoon plover that fishes from Detroit. He fishes St. Clair. And I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Boy, I'm knocking the big northern and the big muskie." I said, "How you doing it?" He said, 800 short line, about 7 miles an hour. Right there. When I'm casting shoreline, and I don't cast it to locate the fisher in there, I throw it. When I'm casting the shoreline, and I'm casting stumps or reed beds or whatnot, rock piles, I'll never see a good fishable spot. I never make the first cast there. And when I'm in the boat with 2 or 3 guys casting shoreline, I always take the back of the boat. But anyway, I want that fish to know that I am around. I will not try to sneak up on a fish. I want him to see my line. I want him to know I'm around. So if I'm not stomping the bottom of the boat, I'm making some kind of noise before I'll make those casts there. What I'm driving up is this right here. You and I, our job is to get the fish to see the lure. How great it is if the fish is looking for it. And that's what'll happen. You want that rascal to be looking for your lure. Now, I just wrote a little article about the spoon plug when I designed it. This was very much in my mind. I knew that the deep water was the home of the fish and so on down that and all that. And then I built this tool. I made it by hand before World War II. I didn't make one by die until after World War II. When I made it, two things was important to me. Three. One was that when I control my depth and speed around the features that the fish are using, they have to work together. You can't sacrifice one to get the other. Because if you change the speed and lost depth control, the speed is where he is. Speed is what we do to make him take it. So when I designed the lure, I had to design it in such a way that I could control depth and speed at the same time. I could check the depth at different speeds. Now the next thing was this. I did not want this thing to look like something to eat. And it doesn't. It's still around after 40, 50 years. I did not want it to look like something to eat. The game fish will always take the oddball. They won't get the off color. Anything. The oddball. That's the one he's going to take. I don't care what it is, like food it is. So I wanted this thing to look like an oddball. I got it. I got my depth and speed, and I made it an oddball. The next thing, I wanted the fish to know that that lure was around. If you look at a round lure, like a pala or one of those, it's round. It looks like something to eat too. Its vibrations setting up a sound wave after it hit the ear is very small. Now remember those little tales I was telling you. Keep it in mind. But when I designed this to get my controls, I put two wings up here. I wanted this thing to wobble like a spoon and a wiggle like a plug. That's where the name came from, spoon plug. Those two wings, which I call the wings, were flapping the water in both directions. Four. My flutes on the tail were giving me another vibration and noise effect in a different direction. Then the lip would give me something far ahead. Now you look at that rascal sometime. Then one of the things that I had to do was that this thing had to hit the bottom. Kind of dark downstairs. I wanted the fish to find it. Now you know a fish has sensor organs down both sides of the bottom. You and I have two eyes, two ears. That gives us depth perception and also where the sound's coming from, the direction. So these sensors going down there. I had a professor at the University of Georgia who's the head of the fisheries department to run tests on a spoon plug. And here's what his report was. He says, when that spoon plug was down running fast and bumping the bottom, it sounded like a freight train. That's all he said. The thing that concerned me way back yonder was, how am I going to control this? I wanted my fishing control. I wanted to control everything. Then it dawned upon me that I already had solved this problem. When I made my depth control and speed control, it stayed together. That by my speed control would change the frequency, change the wavelength, and everything. Because it may be different up here and downstairs. It may be different at a different temperature. I said part of this is for you to think a little bit. So I found that it'll catch most anything it swims. But still, it's just a tool. And all the things that the spoon bugger that I made was tools. For that, I didn't make anything else except tools. And all down through the years, really sometimes it got pretty tough. But right now, I appreciate any sales that we might have because it helps pay the cost. And the people who are producing this for me, my partners, these are people that work for me. They appreciate it too. So you keep that. You keep that in mind also. It's getting pretty late, but we're going to speed this up. I hate to keep you here so long. Let's turn to page 4 in the material. You remember I said that sometimes the people said, when I go to a strange body of water, it scares the pants off of me. And I said, no water is a stranger as far as I'm concerned. I want you to read this thing pretty carefully right here. And as you study this thing, and you'll see that I'm talking about not to be scared. Now it comes down to one more thing. You can read that a little bit later because we're running out of time. Mike told me he gave me so much time, I got to quit. Let's take lures, and you and I go to the lake. In this that you just read here is the fact this, that when you get on the water, trolling is your teacher. Proper trolling things will locate, because when you're scared of this lake, you go out there and you don't know what to do, and you say, scared the pants off of me, I don't know where to start. We're going to start right at the top. Today, the spoon plugger, I have to say the spoon plugger. Today, the spoon plugger has tackle items to help him find out where the deep water is, where the structural situations are, where the fish are. You know, everything in there. And if you use proper trolling activities and look at the terrain, pretty soon in the trolling method, trolling procedure, he'll know everything about that lake. He does not need a depth on it. It might help him, it might speed it up. He doesn't have to have a contour map. Lots of people can't read them, especially a topo map. And lots of times you ask people, well, how about this and that and another, you better take most of that with a grain of salt. So it's going to be up to you and I to find out what makes this lake tick. Trolling is your teacher when you're on the water. It tells you where to cast, when to cast, what to cast, and how to cast. It's the teacher out there. It's going to teach you everything out there that you want to find out. Where the deep water is, where the structures is, whether the fish are. I can eliminate the shallows in 5 minutes. All over the lake. And I see guys casting shallows for hour after hour after hour after hour after hour. I said, I know exactly where the fish are when I walk up to the lake. They're either in the shallows, the deep, or somewhere between. You might get a chuckle out of that. You've heard it before. But if you observe the fishermen today out there, they don't seem to understand this. Well, that's all right too, because I don't think any of us want too many guys out there that knew what made that lake tick in the first place. So, in this here, I'm saying it as you read this thing, that trolling is our teacher when on the water. I make 7 size lures. One is a little one about this long that runs from 2 to 3 feet deep. I have a line that is metered every 30 feet, so let's say we're going to use 60 feet on the troll, and most of the time from 60 to 90 feet is usually about enough. Almost anything, any of them. We take that little lure, it runs around 2 or 3 feet. The next size, 400, runs about 4 to 6 feet. The next lure runs from 6 to 9 feet. The next from 9 to 12. Next from 12 to 14, 15. And then the next size run down to 20. The next from 23, 24. Now also take a wire, throwing, and a lot of people go into the wire. They can run short wire and get small lure deep. It's very important. But the main thing that's important is you can get the depths. Today, you have to hit the depths. A lot of you fish for walleyes. I fish for walleyes too. Sometimes if I get a 35-foot movement on walleyes, it's shallow. Do you believe that? Especially the big ones. So that means that many times the weather and water conditions are such that they're way downstairs. And we can't expect them to come to us every time. Many times, and a lot of the time, we got to go to them. And wire is what we do it. So with wire, we can take every one of those lures and really go down. I could take one that run from, say, 6 to 9 feet. I could put it on wire and get 25 feet without any problem. The big ones, the middle one, I get 30, 35 feet. I get down to 40 to 50 feet on the big size. Then if I really want to go downstairs, then I just run a lot of line, slowly slow the boat, just barely creeping along, and let her sink. After it gets down, it'll stay. You don't have to worry about it. So you can go just as deep as you want to. But deep, you got to think. Right now, I've never seen over the years, I've never seen that seem like the big fish are downstairs. But, let me make this statement. Don't you go downstairs until you prove it that you have to. And that's very important. But I see people won't do a lot go deeper. One more statement. If you and I are presenting our lures correctly, checking depth and speeds, and are not getting a fish, your guideline should be, I'm not quite deep enough yet. That's a good one. Now, in this stuff, we try as spoonflowers to give you guidelines for about everything that you're going to run into out there on the lake or on the body of water.